You see it time and time again. You see it on YouTube, you see it in your games, you quite possibly even see it in yourself. Tilting nowadays just seems to be part of the culture of gaming, especially for competitive ones, and almost every day I have somebody screaming in my ear. I've always wondered, what is tilt? What actually goes on in our brain that causes tilt? And what can we do to mitigate it or even prevent it entirely? We're gonna go over the science behind tilting and how I was able to use psychology as a way to negate tilting in the hellhole of a game that I play, which is called Overwatch. But the things that I talk about in this video can be applied to really any competitive video game like Valorant, Counter-Strike, League of Legends, whatever you play, you can apply these tips. First, let's actually ask, what is tilt? Where did it originate from? You see, tilt was originally coined in pinball, where frustrated players would hit the machine, and the pinball machine would flash tilt, and the game would be over. But over the years, the term's been adapted to poker and then now into gaming, which is now defined as a phenomenon in which players are tilted by a person or event in the game, which generates frustration and other negative emotions, and in turn starts to negatively impact decision making and gameplay overall. So we know tilt affects the person mentally, but what's actually going on inside their head when they're tilting? Well, to look at that, let's first explain how your brain normally processes information. You see, we have two ways of thinking. We have your conscious thinking brain, which is like RAM in a computer. It's really good at quickly reviewing and processing information, and it's good at focusing on solo tasks. However, it can only hold so much information at one time. So to stop the active thinking brain from getting overloaded, it transcribes processed info into our subconscious brain, which is like a hard drive. It's a lot more powerful than our active thinking brain, and it can hold a lot more info. And it's also completely automated. However, the downside of this is that it can't perform actions that it hasn't been trained to do. It's almost like an AI in a way. To put this in perspective for gaming, let's take our basic character movement as example. Over the years, we've gotten really good at using the WASD keys as our movement, and it uses our subconscious automatic brain and able to do it without a second thought. Let's take my mom for example, who's probably never touched a video game in her life. She doesn't have that same muscle memory and automation that we've built up over the years. So if she was to sit down on my computer and play video games, she's not going to be able to move as efficiently as we do. She's going to have to take time to build up that memory by using her active thinking brain to slowly piece together how to move. And as she continues to get practice, that information's gonna get transcribed over to the subconscious brain, and then it's gonna be as automatic as it is for us. But now you might be wondering, why is this important to understanding tilt? A post on Reddit actually explains it perfectly. A post from Spuros says that tilting is when the brain uses the wrong processing system. It is not a lack of focus, nor is it a lack of effort or courage. In fact, often trying too hard is a cause of tilt. Fundamentally, tilting is a problem of psychological reversion, the flipping of a brain system used by experts to the brain system used by novices. It's a form of neural glitch. Now, what this post is basically saying is that you're a tryhard and you're overloading your baby brain. Joking aside, what this is actually saying is that you're just trying to think of everything. You're thinking of your positioning, your gameplay, your mistakes, your bad teammates, while you still play this game even though you hate every single time you play it. Basically overthinking, to put it simply. So now we know what's actually going on inside of our heads when we're tilting, but now the question is, what causes us to tilt? Well, luckily enough, a study by the University of California actually looks to find this out, where they did a study with 100 esports players and their staff and asked them a variety of questions. And in their questions, they asked what causes their tilt. Why do they believe they tilt? And the answers are quite interesting. They found that the most common factors were bad and toxic teammates, consisting over 50% of the reasons for tilting, with 19% being their own mistakes and then 14% being repeated losses, with a small 3% of game mechanics. And while I was looking through this data, I actually noticed something quite interesting, in that there was a common variable between over 80% of the reasons they said they were tilting. And that variable was the factor of uncontrollability. You see, almost 80% of the players said that their tilt was caused by bad or toxic teammates and repeated losses. And if you know anything about me with solo queuing, you're not going to get good teammates. They quite suck, actually. And that's the thing, you can't control what teammates you get. And I can completely understand why people would get frustrated at that. Nobody wants to put in 100% of their effort into a game just to lose it and have no impact. It even happens with me. I get frustrated when I'm playing a game and I'm doing my absolute best, and I've got little Timmy over here who's like overstimming on Subway Surfers and he can't really pay attention to it. But ranting aside, I believe there is also one more factor that is affected by this factor of uncontrollability. And that's burnout. You see, burnout is described by psychology today as a state of emotional, mental, and often physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress. And to add on to that, Dr. K also said that this repeated stress becomes burnout if there's not a reward with it. And for competitive players, winning the game and gaining that rank is that reward. So when competitive players get blocked of getting that win and that rank up, it can be frustrating. Morgado, I hear you asking. I don't feel stressed when I'm playing video games. In fact, I quite enjoy it. And yes, you'd be right. Sort of. I can go on a whole other topic about how gaming releases dopamine and that is what that enjoyability is, but in reality, you're actually stressing your brain. You're having to make constant, quick, and rapid decisions over and over again while you're playing, and it gets even worse into the higher ranks. So let's say, for example, you play for 5 hours during the day. Throughout those 5 hours, you're making constant, repeated, quick decisions, which is eventually gonna drain down your mental energy. And then once that mental energy is depleted, well, you're gonna start getting frustrated, and eventually, that's gonna cause tilting. And I do also want to mention there's a few factors that can affect your tilting outside of the video game. And this is all based on my personal experiences along with those that I've asked. But some of these factors can be things like lack of sleep, not eating, life or personal issues, stressful days. Those can all be factors into contributing to tilt. And also for those who are still in school, whether it's high school, college, whatever you're in, using video games as a procrastination tool can also be very tilting. I've known for myself when I had projects that were due and I used games like Overwatch as a way to procrastinate, I tilted a lot more because of that underlying stress of needing to work on that project. So I would also recommend looking at some of these external factors and seeing what you can maybe work on to help reduce your tilting. But now that we know what tilting is and what causes it, what can we do to stop it? Let me talk about how you can prevent tilting. And I believe there is actually one method that's really good at doing this. And that's just to change your whole perspective of the game. You want to change your outlook of progress from winning or losing the game, gaining and losing rank, to your actual performance. So when you lose a match that you played really well in, I don't want you to think, man, my team was horrible, if only me to have this trash DPS. No, get that all out of your head. Instead, look at yourself, think, well, did I really play well? Did I actually do the best that I could? And then if you didn't, find some ways to work on those. And if you did, well then congratulations. Keep that going into the next match. Don't ruin it by getting mad at a team you can't control. And that's the thing you're gonna have to understand. Bad teammates are gonna happen if you're solo queuing or even duo queuing. The only thing that you can really control is just yourself. So focus on making that the best that it can be. So now when you focus on actually improving at the game and you start to get better, whether it's through better positioning, better aim, making plays you never thought you could have, they feel like wins because they really are wins. You're getting better at the game. So now you no longer have to pray to the Q lottery that you're gonna get good teammates, because in reality, you're not. Now, unfortunately, tilting is really inevitable at times. Whether you're just trying to start implementing tips from this video or you've been trying it like myself for a while, I still tilt from time to time, and for you who are just starting to use these tips, you're not going to see the changes overnight. It takes time to get a new mentality drilled into your head to really start seeing the changes, but I don't want you to lose hope because I'm going to try and help you with what you can do when you're actually tilting. Biggest recommendation I can give is to just take a break. Now I know it's not everyone's favorite answer, especially for those who are trying to grind to become a pro player. I understand, but something that a friend told me that really resonates with me is that ranked is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So act like it. And the breaks don't even have to be really long either. It can just be, 15 minutes, you go outside, grab a bite to eat, pet your dog, take a shower, whatever. But a break works because it allows yourself to give you that mental reset and let the tilt pass without continuously feeding it by queuing another match. But a question that I know some people might be asking is, how do I realize when I'm tilting so I can stop it before I have to play a game of 104 keycap pickup because I got a little crazy? For me personally, I feel like I know that I'm tilting when I start focusing on those external factors that I can't control. Whether it's my teammates, the enemy's team comp, whatever, as long as I'm not focusing on my mistakes and my own gameplay, I know I'm tilted. So kind of play around and see what happens with yourself. Try and notice what you're thinking about and see, am I tilted? Am I thinking about things that I can't control? Or am I just frustrated because I'm not playing well and I can do something about that? And for those who recognize they are starting to tilt, there is something you can actually do about that without needing to take a break. However, I feel like it's really inconsistent and pretty hard to do, but it is possible. And that thing, to put it simply, is to recognize you're tilting and then just stop. It's easy. For real though, I do know some people who can actually like stop tilting in the middle of it. They just kind of realize like, oh, I'm tilting and now I'm just not going to do that anymore. So if you're able to try this out and try and recenter your thoughts without that need of a break, then all the kudos to you. And I recommend you try it, but don't rely on it. Realize when you need that break and then take it. You're gonna feel so much better. And so if you have any questions regarding tilt or just psychology related to video games, just jump in the Discord. I've added a new channel to where you can post your psychology questions and I'll do whatever I can to answer as many of them as possible. And if this video did help, I would greatly appreciate if you would subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers and every little bit helps. Also check out, I do stream. I stream my mental insanity over on Twitch, so definitely check that out. And if you have any feedback for this video, I would greatly appreciate a comment about that. This is completely new for me, so I appreciate it. Have a good one, guys. Stay sane. Please tell me the 4th time's the charm. I don't want to have to record that because that was actually really